Okay, so this is going to be the demonstration how I got to this eagle. Like I said, there's all kind of different techniques people have developed on their own. Some have a very painterly approach. So they just give the illusion of something. It's very difficult. They make it look easy, but it's very difficult. Because of my background at the Natural History Museum, I had to make something very super realistic. And now, back in the early 90s, mid 90s, I would say, I did use a computer with Photoshop. And I mainly did that for the scientific illustrations because there's so many corrections that the scientists or any one of those people find and want to make corrections. If I was to do this in a watercolor technique, I would completely fail because there's so many corrections. And something that would take me, a day or so, it takes me 2 weeks to do when you're working with a paleontologist or a malacologist or ichthyologist or any one of those disciplines. Now, before I start, I just want to show you this. This is how I figure out what colors to use. And this is only one paint palette type thing I have. So basically, this eagle is going to be done with burnt sienna as a reddest thing, but there's an Indian red that's very close, and maybe a sepia, which is a dark brown. Of course, the raw sienna, raw umber, burnt umber. All these are kind of what I use. And sometimes when I'm looking at the color, I'm not sure if it's this one or this one. This will determine that. So again, for the stick people, this is how I do it. Now, like I said, nothing happens overnight. Now, if you can see, there is a lot of stick figures. And I'm just going to show you from here first before I get closer. So I'm just going over the layers. Now, there's already, 3 or 4 layers in there already. But this is the way I paint. Doesn't mean this is the way everybody should paint. This is the techniques that I have developed to achieve the rest of this. And it's a slow process. That's why I can't just go and do the whole painting all at once, because sometimes these take a very long time. And you can see this going over it, and you can see them slowly developing, because I have an undercoat or a couple of, see, there's a little too much paint there, and I could pull it out, and I can pretty much go over. And this is the burnt sienna. It's kind of a nice, rich red brown. And I'm going kind of translucent right now, but to get this to make it look like acrylics, it's because there's layers and layers and layers over it. But this is a slow process. But for me, when I start doing those layers, it makes an effect of translucent paint on top of translucent paint. And I could pull the color out and and add color. So, you just don't put it on and then just walk away. So you may see something like right in here. That could use a little bit more paint, so I'm going to go over it. Now I'm going a little fast on this because I would be taking a little bit more time, but just to give you the idea how this works. And you can see it slowly getting darker. Now I'm just putting the paint over, but I would do those little teeny lines. Like the way I was showing you earlier. And like I said, this is the way I paint. It doesn't mean and this is the techniques I would teach my students. Now, this is very hard for them because they're always in a hurry. They want to see the end of the painting within the first half hour. And it's just so hard to get them to understand you need to get to do layers over and over and over. Now, my advanced students, kind of understand that. And the way they become advanced students is they listen to me, and I've seen them grow over the years. Now, there's some parents at the school I'm working at, or I used to work at, that their parents insisted that they have me every semester since they were sixth graders. Now, I don't know if it was the conversation I had before school started, kind of like an open house thing, or because I teach generations of family, so they know how I am and what I do. But it's those students, having them for 3 years, are so far advanced. I would put them with some of my college level students because of being with them for 3 years. Anyway, so that's how you can see it just building up slowly. I'm going to stop it here. Now, there's probably a couple of colors I'm going to use in this darker part right here. And that would be either a Van Dyke brown, a sepia, or a combination of different browns mixed together. Now, this process works like that process. If you look real close, you're going to see a bunch of little lines overlapping. That is just to lay the foundation. But if you can look right here, this is where I make the separation of the feathers overlapping. So again, I'll still have these little kind of layers, but then I start darkening the edges for the look of feathers overlapping. But this is after a process of a whole bunch of layers. So let's say it's like that one. It has layers upon layers. And now I'm going to do kind of a little darker outline to make the definition on the feathers. And you can see all the little stick figures here. Like I said, that's the way I paint, stick figures. I've just overlapped those stick figures to get the effect I'm looking for. And like I said, this is a long process. Now, some people think I have a lot of patience, and I have a lot of patience for painting. That's as far as it goes. When I'm trying to fix a car, which I'm horrible at, I can't spend way that much time on it because I just get frustrated. I'm really thankful for YouTube for showing me stuff that I can do not only in my car and my house and everything else, step by step, and other people's approach. And maybe that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, to help some people that wanted to paint but don't want to take a class. But if they can learn from some things that I'm showing, that would be great. But then I have to hire professional people to do stuff that's like, okay, I know I can't do that, even if it's on YouTube. It's way too complicated. Anyway, so that's the way I do stuff. You can see the layers in here, the overlap. You can see the definition of the feathers. And I'm going to go into this to redefine all the feathers. And I'm just going to zoom in. And you can see where I still need to work. And you can see the way it starts off right here. You can see just a little super light outline of a feather. Then I'll put a little wash, and then I'll go in here and do an outline a little bit darker. And that's the layer process I'm talking about. You can see this is the way it starts off. This is the way it develops. So you can see now, there's those little outlines. You can see the shadows I'm putting because this is going to be underneath that one. And then you can see the little stick figures that are starting to overlap. And that's the whole process to the way I'm painting this. Thank you.